Hey, what's going on, people? It's Yoshi. I was at the range earlier this week, and the fella in the booth next to me was shooting his carry gun, which happened to be a Beretta Nano. Actually, it was his only gun, is what he told me, and he trusted it with his life. And I appreciate that. I understand the feeling and everything. And I asked him if I could, watch him shoot a couple mags through. He said, yeah. I told him I had never seen it in person, and I had only seen it in YouTube videos. And so he was more than willing to give me the information, his opinion, and everything. But the two main things I noticed was there was no slide lock. Like you couldn't let the slide down besides removing an empty magazine with the empty chamber. That's the only way to get it done. And so if you're experiencing some sort of malfunction and you can't get that round out so the slide will lock open, you're in one difficult position because there's no alternative. That literally is the only way to get it to lock open, is an empty chamber on an empty mag. And he didn't seem too concerned. And then again, he showed me how to field strip, take it down, and that concerned me even more. Especially if you experience a malfunction and you're in a situation that you don't have the luxury of time, or there's a lot of pressure on you, or you're at the range, or you're out shooting at your friend's property or whatever. If you don't have a screwdriver, a casing, or a quarter or a nickel or a dime, you're not going to be able to get the slide off because it has a flathead screw on the right side where the slide release pin would normally be. And that's the only way to get the slide off of there. And so I watched him do it, and the man had a screwdriver in his pocket. And I don't know if the guy walks around with a screwdriver in his pocket all the time, which I don't see. The only reason I would do it is for that reason, so I could take my gun down if I needed to. But he showed me, and it didn't seem to bother him. And for me personally, if I have to use a tool to field strip my self-defense weapon, I don't feel comfortable with that self-defense weapon whatsoever. Guaranteed that the gun itself was very streamlined, and Beretta did a fine job at doing that, but the ergonomics of it doesn't really make sense for something that I don't think they have like a second generation or a second make of it or any of it. I think they just made it. It was their application, the micro carry 9mm, and they saw the errors that made the gun unpopular. And I love the 92. Even the older 70s 80s models, I love those too. That open the what is it, 180 for the ejection port, I thought that was brilliant. The military loved it. People still love that gun. And so I don't have a problem with Beretta. The only thing that makes me uncomfortable is that it's a new application to their lineup that didn't really make the market whatsoever. Probably, I'm not saying only one or two or so, but definitely not along the lines of what Glock or Sig or Smith & Wesson sell when they bring new weapons to the market at SHOT Show, or they just come out with it whenever they do. For concealment, it is perfect. It literally would sit inside from my bottom of my palm to the tips of my fingers. And I don't have really big hands, so it would fit me perfectly if it had the slide lock. That would be the only way I would buy a gun like that, is if it had a slide lock. I don't need a manual safety for it, but I need to be able to lock the slide back without removing rounds out of the magazine, so that there's either one in the chamber or none in the magazine. It locks back. But the way that it is, I can't really see myself ever depending my life or the life of my loved ones on that type of self-defense tool. If you've ever tasted like a food that you know is supposed to taste and the texture is supposed to be a certain way, and then you taste a version of it where it's not exactly that, but it's very similar, but there are distinctive things that aren't the same. That is what the Beretta Nano felt to me. It literally felt like it's supposed to feel right. It's, I know what it should feel like. And when it didn't feel that way, it made the experience not unenjoyable, but just not enjoyable to the fullest. It is a modular, or was, it is a modular gun. The serialized part is on the FCU. You can remove the FCU, but Beretta never, most companies didn't make any, other grips for them, like the 320 or the P365 or the 250 or any of that. And I think the only thing you can get is like different color grip modules. That's it. I don't think there's any aftermarket parts for it. I've never seen one with any slide cuts or fluted barrels or anything. The only thing I saw was a gold barrel. And that was probably the most upgrades that I've ever seen to a Beretta Nano being done. But knowing now what it feels like, and the guy let me shoot about a magazine, and I tossed him, 10 rounds back at him so that, things were fair and he didn't feel like, I was just trying to shoot his joints. But when I went home and I thought about it, and I thought about how I live downtown, so the environment can be very friendly, it can be very dirty, it can be very make you feel unsure late at night, especially walking my dogs or something along those lines. And the confidence of having my self-defense weapon on me, it allows me to be in those types of environments and feel like I'm gonna make it home. And if I'm not gonna make it home, I at least can do the best that I can to protect myself and my loved ones. With those situations, I never want it to happen. I know some guys and girls dream about it, but I really don't. I don't want to ever have to pull my gun on anyone. I don't want to ever have to fire it except for at targets. Paper targets or solid targets or cans or bottles or whatever. But I don't have that fantasy of, someone drawing down on me or threatening my life or the ones that I love around me. And I draw and I do what I have to do, per se. I'd rather it never be used in that type of situation. But that's the type of situation I bought mine for. And so the P365, I feel confident that it will work whenever I need it to and in the way I need it to. And if it doesn't, I will be able to clear the malfunction in ways that will not make the situation with that amount of pressure on you even worse. Now Beretta came out with a version 2 or something similar to it, and it had a slide release, and it had better sights, and the ergonomics were a little better, and you could take the gun down without using a screwdriver or empty casing or a casing in general. Then I might be interested in getting it. But as it sits with how the Beretta Nano is and the reviews and the results of people's opinions and me personally firsthand handling it, I just couldn't comfortably tell anyone or even myself in my head that I feel comfortable walking around with that as my self-defense weapon. But if you watch this video to the end, I appreciate your time. And I hope that, if you like it, you hit that thumbs up. If you don't hesitate to hit the thumbs down. Subscribe for more videos like this. And I appreciate your support. It helps build the channel. And I know time is one thing we can't get back, so I do my best to give you my best opinions, unbiased, and in a timely fashion. Therefore, you're not spending, 30 minutes to an hour listening to me talk about something that, you could watch in 5 minutes. Again, my name is Yoshi. Please subscribe and hit that like button. I'm out.